Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So here we are on December 1st. We're coming very close to the holiday season, and for a lot of people, this is a really stressful time of the year. So I just wanted to take a quick second to remind everyone to make sure to get some downtime and some rest and relaxation during the holiday season, because we are in the darker days of the year and that is what it's for. So I'm going to go through my TBR for December, and this TBR is kind of all over the place and it's not set in stone. So I wanted to take this month to plan to read a few books, but if I decide to read something else, or the fact that a lot of these are series, I might want to stick with just reading the series instead of just reading the first book and moving on to something else. I've been really kind of stressed out and very burnt out just with work, and I've had some problems with my health this year, and I'm just really excited to get some downtime during December. Matthew and I don't do a whole lot during the holidays. We typically just get a whole lot of food, we stay home, we don't visit anybody, we don't do the gift giving thing, and we just sit around and eat and watch a stack of movies, and of course I'm going to be reading as well. So really looking forward to that. And it also is my longer break from work, so I usually during the year only take like a week off at a time, but here I think I'm getting about 2 to 2.5 weeks, which is awesome. So jumping right into the books that I have planned, and like I said, this is a very loose TBR, so we'll see when I do my wrap up at the end of the month what I actually got through. So first, I do have a couple of holiday sort of Christmassy reads. So first is an anthology, Hark the Herald Angels Scream, and this is edited by Christopher Golden. So I've seen a lot about this book on BookTube, and I had bought it last year, but I didn't get to it. So I'm gonna try to get to this one this year. And of course, short stories are wonderful, especially if you're in any kind of a reading slump. So excited to have that one on the TBR finally. And the next one is Young Scrooge. So this book is missing its dust jacket. I bought this one secondhand off of just someone who lives here in my community. And this is A Christmas Story by R.L. Stine. And I'm so excited to have this one back on the TBR again. I did have it on my list last year, just like the other one, but I didn't get to it. And A Christmas Carol is one of my favorite holiday movies. I watch A Christmas Carol with Alistair Sim, is my favorite one, and I watch it every Christmas Eve, and it's kind of the movie that I fall asleep to, so it's great. And this is very much a take on A Christmas Carol. So this is called A Very Scary Christmas Story. And so here we follow a young boy named Rick Scroogeman, and he's in junior high. And of course, with a name like that, everyone calls him Scrooge. He hates the holidays, he hates Christmas, he hates the pageants and the music and all of that kind of stuff. He is a real bah humbug kind of person. And of course, with the bullying and everything, he's just really sour about all of that. So of course, one night Rick is visited by 3 ghosts, and he's not sure if he has stumbled into a nightmare or if this is really happening. So very much a take on A Christmas Carol. It's super short, and so looking forward to reading this one this Christmas season. And the other sort of thematic book that I have on my TBR is Served Cold, which was edited by Regina St. Clair, who of course also has a channel here on BookTube. And this is a BookTube anthology. So of course, Local Haunts was released last fall, and it was a fantastic anthology, and all of the stories were written by your favorite booktubers here on HorrorTube, and it was fantastic. I loved it. So I'm so excited that we're getting another anthology this year, and this all revolves around cold weather horror. So just from the cover alone, you can get how cold these stories are going to be. I think it's going to be great to sit down and read during December. Of course, the cover art was done by Cameron Robique, who is amazing with his artwork, and I'm really excited to sit down and read this one. So this book is out on December the 11th through Amazon. You can go in right now and pre-order your e-copy and download it to your Kindle, and it'll be ready to go on December 11th. So super excited to read stories from my colleagues here on BookTube. So with the other books that I've chosen on this TBR, there's not a whole lot of horror. I'm actually getting a little tiny bit burnt out with horror, and I'm just very much in the mood for really great mysteries and thrillers. So things that are going to keep me on the edge of my seat and page turners and the whole thing. And like I said, a few of these are series. So for example, the first book that I have chosen is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I think I'm one of the only people that hasn't read this series yet on BookTube. It's a BookTube darling, everybody loves it, and it was last December that I told you guys that I was going to read this series, and it just didn't happen. And of course, I've also been on almost a 100% horror kick during 2021, so I'm excited to finally get to this series. So I'm going to try out book 1, and then if I really love it, I might go ahead and read the rest of the series this month. We'll see how it goes. So here, this series takes place in the 1920s in New York, and a young girl named Evie comes to New York, and she's living with her very eccentric uncle who has an unhealthy obsession with the occult. And of course, there's undergrounds and flappers and all of that, so it's very thematic with the 1920s feel of New York. But then a young girl shows up murdered, and she is branded with an occult symbol. And her uncle gets called in as an occult expert on the murder. And Evie, who has a dark secret of her own, realizes that she could help the police in trying to solve these murders. Her secret has brought her nothing but pain and heartache up until now, but she really feels a purpose to be able to help her uncle solve this mystery. So this sounds fantastic. I'm really hoping that this is going to live up to the expectation that I have. So I'm going to start out with the first book, and then who knows, I might go ahead and read the whole series in December, but high hopes for this one. And next up for this month is book 3 and book 4 in the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. And I read the first 3 books in this series last year, and I loved them. They were all 5 stars. It was a fantastic series, and it was supposed to originally just be the 3 books, but the 3rd book did end off on a little bit of an open ending, so they did go ahead and release a 4th book earlier in 2021. So I was really curious. I mean, I think they should have just left it at the 3, but I'm really curious to see what's going to happen next in the story. So because it's been about a year since I read these, I'm going to go back and read the 3rd one before I read the 4th one. So I don't want to give too much away of this book because, of course, with sequels, I usually don't get into any kind of synopsis. But if you don't know about this series, it's basically a boarding school mystery, and it's a murder mystery. A girl had turned up dead, and there's all kinds of things that are wound in here. And if you know anything about me, I love dark academia. I love anything to do with boarding schools. And this was a really fast-paced moving series. So if you haven't read the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson, I highly recommend you pick them up. I really enjoyed these last year. So I'm hoping that the 4th book that was unplanned is really going to complement the original 3 well, and that I'm going to enjoy it because I don't want it to ruin the series. So I'll let you guys know how that one goes. And next up on the list for the thriller mysteries is One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. And this one has very much Breakfast Club kind of vibes, if you know the movie The Breakfast Club from the 1980s. So we have a group of teenagers who walk into detention one day, and one of them doesn't come out, so one of the students is killed. His name is Simon. And of course, the police are involved, and they're trying to interview all these kids, trying to figure out what happened. So it sounds like a great murder mystery here, especially because you have 5 people in a room. How does one person turn up dead and nobody knows anything? And it says here, according to the investigators, his death wasn't an accident. On Monday, he died, but on Tuesday, he had planned to post juicy secrets about all 4 of his high-profile classmates that he was in detention with, which makes all 4 of them suspects in his murder. Or are they the perfect patsies for a killer who is still on the loose? Everyone has secrets. What really matters is how far you would go to protect them. So, classic story. I really have high hopes for this one, and this is part of a duology. So again, if I really enjoy the first one, I'll just go ahead and pick up the second one to read right after this. And next up on the list is Bunny by Mona Awad, and I've had this book on my Kindle for quite some time because, again, this is another one that is a serious booktube darling. A lot of people gave this book 5 stars, and it's one of those books that people say, like, it's so crazy and so wild and out there that it's actually good, and you're not really sure what's going on. You don't know if it's reality or if somebody has a mental illness or if this is a dream or what's going on. So we follow a girl named Samantha who gets accepted to a really elite program at a prestigious university in England. And she is very, very much an outsider. She doesn't really get along with her classmates and stuff like that. And there are some really high profile girls who are called the Bunnies. They call each other Bunny. They kind of move as one. They're almost like they're the same person. They're almost like they're clones of each other, and they're very, very strange. But one day Samantha receives an invitation to come hang out with the Bunnies, and she gets completely wrapped up in their world, and there's murder, and the lines between reality and fantasy are blurred, and she is just totally sucked in here. It looks like there's some occult stuff going on where they conjure up monstrous things, and this book just sounds like it's totally all over the place. And it says here, the spellbinding new novel from one of our most fearless chroniclers of the female experience. Bunny is a down the rabbit hole tale of loneliness and belonging, friendship and desire, and the fantastic and terrible powers of the imagination. So that sounds great. You know, it's one of those books that I just keep saying kind of every month that I'm going to get to it, and then I don't, and other things kind of pop into my mind that I want to read, and I'm just really hoping that this one is another one that lives up to expectation. I know there's a lot of books that are on BookTube that are very, very popular that I don't like whatsoever, but I really want to like this one. It sounds great, it sounds twisted and kind of out there, so really excited about this. Let me know down below if you've read this book and what you thought. And next up on the list is All These Bodies by Kendara Blake, and this book takes place in the 1950s, and I'm not sure if this is a vampire story or not, but the bodies of 16 people turn up dead, and even though every single one of them is drained of blood, there is no blood anywhere to be found. So the blood is going somewhere. Sounds like a vampire story to me, but we'll see how it goes. So at one of the scenes, a young girl named Marie is found, and she is completely covered in blood herself. And at first the police think that she is a survivor of an attack, but then they discover that none of the blood is hers. So she quickly goes from being a perceived survivor to someone who is a person of interest. So of course the police are involved, and we try to figure out what's going on with these bodies that are drained of blood. And it says here, as Marie recounts her version of the story, it falls to Michael, one of the investigators, to find the truth. What really happened the night that the Carlsons were killed? And how did one girl wind up in the middle of all these bodies? So really kind of hoping for a vampire story here, but I'm very intrigued. I definitely want to check this one out. And I haven't read any of Kendara Blake, but her other series, the Anna Dressed in Blood series, is quite popular, and she is also releasing a Buffy book in January. So I wanted to pick up something by her to see if I jive with her writing style before the Buffy the Vampire Slayer book comes out in January, which I'm quite excited about, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be better than the other kind of spin-off series that was called Chosen. I read that one earlier this year, and I really didn't like it. So hopefully the Buffy book that's coming out in January is going to be good, and this book, All These Bodies, is going to be good as well. And the last book up on this list is an audiobook, which is The Dead Girls Club by Damien Angelica Walters. And I've heard a lot of good things about this book as well, and it takes place in 1991, which is going to be very nostalgic for me, and I'm hoping that they do bring in some of that nostalgia from the 90s. So this follows a group of girls who call themselves the Dead Girls Club, and they're fascinated with all things macabre, everything from serial killers to paranormal monsters and stuff like that, and they believe in the Red Lady. And the Red Lady is somewhat of a take on Bloody Mary, where you say, Red Lady, show us your face. and she appears before you. So the girls are playing around with this game, and one of the girls, Becca, starts insisting that the red lady is real, and she starts freaking everybody out, and she winds up dead. And one of the other girls in the group, Heather, kind of keeps quiet. She keeps it secret for 30 years that Becca was right and the red lady is real. So fast forward to 30 years later, Heather receives a necklace in the mail that she hasn't seen in 30 years, and she hasn't seen since the night that Becca died. And she knows that someone knows the secret, and they're bound to make Heather pay. So really excited about this book. Like I said, lots of thrillers, lots of mysteries on this TBR. I'm really hoping that I'm going to just have some really great page turners that I can sink into and that are fast paced. I've been looking for a really great read for some time. 2021 started out really strong, and then it kind of petered out a little bit, and I've been really looking for something that's a 5-star read and that I'm excited about and I can't wait to talk to you guys about. So hopefully this TBR is going to help me reach that goal. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give me a thumbs up and leave me a question or a comment down below, because you know I love chatting with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky everybody. Bye.